Hello, Art 2. I'm going to go over our week and what to expect. We are, of course, responding to a theme using acrylic on canvas. Once again, we are going through the creative process. Started with a mind map, some additional initial ideas, and then we developed one of those compositions to get to our final sketch, right? And what we want to say, we wrote out our intent. So to be very clear, now the first time we went through this, I was pretty generous with the grading. This time, probably less so. You should have a pretty good understanding of what we're supposed to do. So we started out with a mind map, a list, whatever it is, for you to just get some ideas on paper. You can see I looked at the theme concealed. What do we conceal? I thought we conceal identity, crimes, lies, failures. And then I built on each of those. Who conceals their identity? Superheroes, criminals, maybe an informant. What crimes might you conceal? Embezzling, murder. What lies do we tell? Embarrassing things, mistakes, maybe our true desires, maybe about money that we've spent, right? And the idea here isn't to get it right, it's just to get things on paper. So just relax and let everything kind of pour out. Then thought of this idea. There's a song I like, and the chorus talks about all the good that won't come out of me. Right? Why do we sometimes conceal the good in us? So then I chose a couple ideas. Like one of them was concealing our true self. And just get some initial ideas. Just get some sketches on paper. And they don't have to be great sketches. So here's one. There's a person. They're holding a little mask. They're concealing themselves from the crowd, from everybody else. They have the happy face on, just like all the people on the side. That's an idea. Here's a person again using that mask, concealing themselves from a bully. So I'm looking at different ideas, and then this one, I'm thinking this idea of concealing the good. So here we have somebody, a student, right? These are the lockers, who's been pushed down. There's a student walking away and concealing the good. This person wants to help the student that's been pushed down, but is afraid to show, I don't know, that they're a good person, that they're compassionate, that person deserves help. And I think this is actually from kind of, I remember in my high school, some experiences that I had. All right, so those are my three initial ideas, and you should have at least three. Okay, if you don't have three sketches, if I don't see three, you simply don't get the grade. And we developed our composition. So now I take this idea of the student being pushed down. That's the one I like, right? I like this idea of the good that won't come out of us. And now my sketches are a little more detailed, a little more accurate. So I might search for I don't even know what I searched for. Oh, person on the floor. Images. So now I'm using some reference images. Which one did I use? I think it was this one, this guy, yeah. So I used this picture to help me draw this. Okay, so my person on the floor was not feeling very good. And then I think for this one I used the person who was concerned. And I looked through these images and I found somebody who looks, kind of concerned. Can't find the exact images, but I use that as a reference so I can get a feel for what it's going to look like. Then I did another version. So this is fine, but I wanted to simplify. So now I've zoomed in on the face. And I think instead of concerned, I typed in worried, right? And I found an image that I really liked, right? So actually, it was the image that inspired the drawing in this case. saw a worried person, and it just struck me. I just really like that image with the hand up to the face. And then I changed instead of drawing a detailed person, I just made this into a silhouette. Right? A less accurate story, right? This is very precise. So if you want something precise, maybe you go with this one. This one's a little more vague, so people can kind of put their own stories in there, is what I was kind of thinking. And then I did another version, because I found this image, actually. I kind of like this. The person looking out the window. Now I put the person in a silhouette closer, but this makes... I didn't like it as much, because the person looks maybe like a little creepy. So I did another version, and this time the silhouette is with the head down, right? And I kind of like this because again, it's a little more vague, it's a little less precise. It gets the idea across, but there's, and it's less complicated than this, And you can choose any, if you want something more detailed, that's fine. But after we get our initial idea, right, so we go through here, we just very casually, we're relaxed, right? We sketch out some ideas. Then we take one of these and we develop that composition. Okay? Now I have two I like. Right? I like this one. I like that one. Right? I have to choose one of these. If I had to choose today, I'm not sure which one. Maybe I combine. I like this person and I like this head, kind of. Maybe if I combine the two, that would give me my final piece. And you also know, what am I trying to say in this composition? Right? What is my intent? I want to show the good actions that we don't take. Right? Why don't we help? Maybe I want to ask a question. Why don't we help each other when you know that's the right thing to do? All right? So that's where we should be. That's what you should have done. You should have 3 of those initial ideas. And again, they're loose. You can actually just do stick figures. That's fine. Okay, 3. And at least a couple, 3 developed ideas and a written intent. Okay? Develop composition. So you should have 5, 6, 7 or more sketches. Right? And let your ideas evolve. What are we doing next? Excellent question. Next, we are getting on to studies. Now, it's how do I put this together? How am I going to paint it? Right? We need to practice. We need to experiment. We need to figure some things out. So if I was going to paint water, I would practice. And in this one, they've added some. They did water in pen. They did water in watercolor. We're focusing on paint. So we don't need to experiment with media, but we can experiment with technique. And that's how we get to our final piece. We practice. Right? Again, our inspiration comes from the process. Like when I was looking at those images, right? I found that one image that inspired my drawings. It was just digging around. It was just keeping at it. It was just thinking. So make sure you have that specific intent. Why is that important? Because it informs your decisions, right? Know the mood you want to create. Then when you make choices about colors and shapes, you have a direction to go. It's not just kind of a random choice. So studies, practice. No, we won't be able to do this many sets. And you can do some pencil drawings even if you're painting. That's fine, because that leads to good things. But do use reference images. If I'm going to paint trees, look at a picture of trees. What can you learn from that? If I look at this picture and then look at the painting, I can learn one thing. The bottom of the trees are uneven. Even though it's not exactly the same, I can see that the trees aren't going to be in one line on the horizon line, right? They're going to be staggered. I can see the trees aren't perfectly straight. I can see the different greens in the branches. This is your job as an artist, to notice the details and to bring them into your work, to show the rest of the world. And don't be afraid to loosen up. You can do some things accurate. You can do some things a little more free. So I'm going to start out with a quick review of the color wheel. Right, we have our three primary colors, blue, yellow, red, and then we have white and black, and that's all you need to mix everything. So the primary colors are spread out on the color wheel, equally apart. Secondary colors are in between, right? So a green would be right about here. To move from one primary to one secondary, from one primary to another primary, I slowly add. So if I'm moving from yellow to blue, I'm slowly adding more and more blue to my yellow, right? And I can move around. So here's my green, right? So we got two primaries, make a secondary. And then in between those are our tertiary colors, a yellow green and a blue green. Of course, we have many, many more colors than that, many more hues. If I add more blue, I get a bluer green. If I add more yellow to that, right? So color is a big idea, a big idea. Now if I want to move from one primary to another, I just add small amounts, and I can work my way around the color wheel. So with every color, we have all these different options, all these different colors. It's amazing. That's why mixing everything from the primaries will give you a more unique palette than like buying a bottle of purple or buying a bottle of green. Because we have all these colors. And then we also have tints and shades. So if I've got a nice purple here, or reddish purple, I can make that lighter by adding white. So within that purple, I have many, many, many different tints I can use. And of course, I can actually make shades as well. So for my green, I can add black to make it darker. But you can make shades two ways. One, you can add black, and the other way is to add the complementary color, or red, to make it darker. And the last thing I want to talk about is mixing browns. So start out with a lot of yellow, add a little red, and a dot of blue. Keep mixing. It'll get there, right? You might have to change the ratios a little bit, but you will get to a brown. This is kind of a... Are we getting there? Oh, yeah, that works. It's a nice little brown, a little on the greeny side, which is A-okay. But that's just a brown. There's certainly a lot of different browns I can do. If I add some red, I'm going to get a whole nother brown. What happens if I keep adding red, right? So we can experiment. There's so many different colors we can get. Add some blue. Add some yellows. And then, of course, we can do tints of those. We can do shades of those with black. Right? So color is a big, big thing. Make use of these. Make use of all these colors. Enjoy mixing. The last thing we want to think about is our styles. Are we going to do a refined style where we blend the paint so it looks realistic, where we hide the brush strokes? Only if we really zoom in can we see a little bit of brush stroke. Are we going to loosen up? Are we going to be a little painterly? Are we going to leave some of the brush strokes? Right? It looks pretty realistic, but we don't have to zoom in very far to see the brush strokes, do we? So while you're doing your studies, I want you to try at least 2 different styles. Be a little experimental, please. Or do you want to do be impasto, where it's all about the brush strokes From a distance, it looks fairly realistic, but if we get in here, in this Monet, it doesn't take us long to see. I mean, this is just all thick, thick brush strokes of paint. It's amazing. Probably dipping the brush in red and white and then just slapping it on there. Gestures. High energy. Or if you really want to get crazy, use a palette knife. So that is our next step. It's all about studies. So here's an example. I think we looked at this before. Right? Mind map and some just loose sketches. Lots of loose sketches. I don't expect everybody to do this many, but have at least 3. We spent 3 days doing this. And then develop that composition. We get into this candle thing. We develop that. Try different things. Boom. And then we get practice painting. I'm going to paint the candle. I'm going to try different colors. I'm going to experiment with technique. Look at candles. Use reference images. And then we get our final piece. Right? Feels like a lot of work, but we're spending a lot of time on it. If you come here each day, you're focused, you do your thing, you're going to end up with an outstanding work of art. Here's another example. What I like about this is I particularly remember to use reference images, right? Don't just guess on things. What I remember about this is a student who liked being very precise. But they managed to loosen up after some practice. In their final piece, I love the painterly style here. I think that worked really well. It was very, very expressive. So that's the plan, ladies and gentlemen. We are getting into our studies. We are one step closer to our final piece. But make sure we have all these other things done as well. Good studies lead to an excellent final piece. But be a risk taker. Don't be afraid to fail with your studies. That's a good time to fail. Right? Try things. If it doesn't work, that's fine. You get credit for trying. What is even happening? Dislike. Recorder, where are you? Ignore this. There it is. Oh, there.